asked me who he was. And I think Dedon had his board on his car all the time for two reasons. One is, if he had an extra hour, he was going to go get some waves, like all of us do. If the waves are happening, we're going to be in the water. The second is that Dedon was always spreading the word that, yes, we do surf. Yes, we are at the beach. Yes, we're in the water. And if people came up and asked him if black people surf, that was just an opening. That was his opening right there. Because he was going to tell you about the history of black people and how we've been riding the waves for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And how we're taking it back.
Yeah.
We're reclaiming the ocean. Dedon, as the ex-president of the Black Surfing Association, was around as we formed another organization called the Black Surfers Collective. And I'll always remember him for being there because the collective is a word that he brought, and it stuck. And he was always into the collective process. Whenever we got together to talk about something and to make decisions, he was there, strong-willed, very opinionated, but when the group made a decision, Dedon was with you 100%. And I'll always remember that. My wife told me something the other day that Dedon always told her, and that is, always protect the children. That's our future. And they're always trying to break down our children. So let's watch after our kids. Let's really protect them. They're our future. They're where we're going. As surfers, we honor those that have transitioned with something we call paddle out. We do a celebration in the sand, and then we do a celebration in the water. Dedon's paddle out is going to be next Sunday at the Inkwell Beach, where Pico meets the ocean. If you go just a little south of there, find parking, come down to the beach. It's at 12 o'clock next Sunday on the 13th. Please, all of you, come and join us. Share in our celebration of our brother. Share in our celebration of his love of the water. And I just want to thank you all for being here. I love my brother. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg. I neglected an organization I've had out. Nation of Islam. Mr. Tony could not come. When I talked to him, he was traveling. He said he really wanted to be here. And I'm not sure if Sister Charlene Muhammad is here or not. If so, right here. Okay, there she is. So she may want to come forward and say something on behalf of the Nation of Islam. But Minister Tony kept me on the phone for about 5 minutes telling me the significance that Brother Dedon has meant to the Nation of Islam in the Los Angeles area. And he really wanted to be here today, but he was traveling. And I know Dedon, for one, was planning to attend 1010. So he and I talked about it, and when we were listening to the minister, he tried to act like he didn't see me there that day, but I found out why, because he was busy running around. And of course, Sister Ted tell you, he was planning to go to Washington, D.C. Sister Charlene Muhammad.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. So, I'm sorry. It's okay. It's kind of odd, you know, speaking about Dedon, not necessarily in the past tense, but just, as many people have said before, this is what, I mean, I'd be looking for Dedon to be at the camera or orchestrating something like this on behalf of someone, but I would like to say that Dedon was a freedom fighter, is a freedom fighter. And I say is because listening to how everyone said so eloquently, you know, we carry on the work that our brother was in the prime of doing. He loved freedom, justice, and equality. He worked, gave his life for that, wherever it was, as we can see by the diversity here. I would like to say the universality here rather than diversity, because I think that we're at its core divides. But when you think about the universality of Brother Dedon, I remember seeing him get out of his truck one day and asking that question, is that a surfboard? You know? My big brother, a protector, but just a wealth of wisdom and knowledge that it didn't matter, as someone else shared, it didn't matter if it was a 6-year-old or if it was a 46-year-old or an 86-year-old. Brother Dedon was going to impart knowledge to you, and he's going to talk to you like the intelligent being you were and that you are. And I really love how his mentorship to everyone, again, regardless of age or regardless of what your scholarship was, he has been that person that has something to share. I would be remiss if I didn't say the thing that I absolutely love about Brother Dedon Kamathi is that he loved the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And he pushed that line and he pushed that message because the fight, again, is always for freedom, justice, and equality. I love how the brother spoke about West Papua. I love how the brother spoke about what's happening with our Ethiopians. That's Dedon, the embodiment of freedom. And so on behalf of Brother Akbar Muhammad, the international representative, whom you could hear at any given moment Brother Dedon speaking to about what's happening in the diaspora. On behalf of Student Minister Tony, who really, when he got the word, brother, he sent me a massive text, and it was capital with exclamation marks. What? Because we realized what void is there. As Brother Hank Jones said, you know, we really, as the speaker before said, have to acknowledge that there is definitely something significant that happened when Brother Dedon Kamathi passed. And I want to say that for the mentorship and the guidance and for the fight that he put on for every single person who was oppressed and downtrodden, I will always love him. And the Nation of Islam will always be his home, as well as the AARP. Thank you so much. I don't want to take up much time. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sister Charlene. Okay. Next on our list, which is also very important to Brother Dedon, was CMOTIP, the Committee to Eliminate Media Offensive to African People. And we have Brother Spaniel here to represent CMOTIP.
Hotep, ready for the revolution. Like Brother Shabaka said, I'm here representing the Committee to Eliminate Media Offensive to African People. And on behalf of the organization, we'd like to express our condolences, Sister Tej, Brother Dedon's family, the All African People's Revolutionary Party. We are an organization that is focused on dealing with the negative impacts of media images on people of African descent. And Dedon was a big, huge supporter of our organization because he understood the importance of fighting against negative images and promoting positive images. And in that regard, he used his show Freedom Now as a way to counter negative images about African people. He opened up his microphone, like many of the people before me have said, to any organization that would approach him and say, hey, brother, we're having this activity going on. Could you support us? Not only would he give us that time on the mic, but he would show up to the organization, to the demonstration or whatever. Everybody who knows Dedon knows that the brother loved a good demonstration, right? And I can just think about any time we call the brother and say that we got this going on, he'd be there. So, and that was the case when we were fighting against the Los Angeles County Museum of Art and their racism in the way that they portrayed the exhibits of King Tut and the Olmecs. When the American Federation of Teachers put out this document called Alternatives to Afrocentricity, attacking our Afrocentric scholars, Dedon showed up with us at the AFT convention in Anaheim to protest. And In 1992, the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith put out this document, this report entitled The Anti-Semitism of Black Demagogues and Extremists. And they targeted a number of really strong warriors in our community, including Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, Brother LeGrand Clegg, and Dedon Kamathi himself. And so Dedon organized what was the first demonstration that I'm aware of against the Anti-Defamation League. And like you can see here, Dedon had a connection to multiple communities and organizations across the city. And I can remember African people, Latino people, Asian people showing up at this demonstration because Dedon reached out to them. And I can remember more than anything this militant Korean group that showed up with these drums, right? Nobody had ever seen them before. But that was the kind of person. And I think it's critical and it's important that we preserve Dedon's legacy. This brother has audio-visual archives that we need to preserve and share with our community as a history and struggle, revolutionary struggle. We need to make sure that all of those video and audio archives are housed in some African institution like the Mamie Clayton Library here or the Schomburg Institute in New York, because we need this information to pass on to our communities. So, one of the things that Dedon used to always say is, if you're not in an organization, you need to join an organization. And if you can't find an organization that you want to join, then you need to start an organization. So in his spirit, we need to continue that kind of organizing. And I'll just leave that and say,
Brother Steno is actually correct. That's emphasis that we have is that join an organization, because the only way we can solve the problems that our people face around the world is through organizations. So if there's not one out here that you want to join or can join, build one, start one, because organization is the key. We're going to move on, and our next representative was supposed to be Brother Babu from the Pan-African Film Festival. And I'm assuming that he's probably going to come late, because I did talk to him. He did have another engagement, so we will see if he does. But in the meantime, we have Brother Ikawebu Bunting representing the 8th Pan-African Committee Organizing Committee, and he's also responsible for us being in this space today, so we thank him for that. And he's going to come forward, and we'll go from there.
Good evening, Africans. Yes, and blessings and greetings of solidarity and struggle and strength. A few words about my brother and my comrade, Dedon Kamathi. One is, when we come together to commemorate the passing of an elder and an ancestor and a warrior, one of the things that we're commemorating is his life and his commitment. And it is upon us, those who are still in this plane of existence, to recommit ourselves to those things to which our elder and our brother, our comrade, our fellow warrior was committed to. So we should all put in our hearts now and make a personal commitment, a personal statement, that we will carry the struggle forward, that we will be more than ready for the revolution, that we will actually begin and implement and live the revolution. This is what we're called upon to do all the time by Brother Dedon. I've known Dedon for the last 12 years that I've been back in California. And like the speaker said before, every place you would go, you would see Dedon. I thought there were 10 or 12 of them, but you know how he managed to be everywhere at the same time. He also invited me onto the program Freedom Now to speak on several instances. And one thing about Dedon that I appreciated, he always worked for ideological clarity, but he was not an ideologue. He had the flexibility and created the space and understanding that in our struggle, that we have to have functional unity. We worked together to start organizing for the 8th Pan-African Congress, which is to take place next year. I had traveled to East Africa on that assignment just in June, early June, and spoke to Dedon before I left. I came back, Brother Shabaka told me that he had had a stroke, and then I said, well, we have to organize to go see him. I'd only been back a few days. And 2 days after that, Brother Shabaka told me that Dedon had transitioned, had passed on. And this left a gap. This left a gap not only for us as a community, and the condolences go to us as a community, but also in our plans to organize for this 8th Pan-African Congress. And I'm saying this here now because as we're together, and you know Dedon was a Pan-Africanist, and at the heart of Pan-Africanism is unity, functional unity. And as the Black Lives Matter now is taking and reviving that spirit of resistance, that spirit of revolution in our community, we have to put it in the context of Pan-Africanism. We need to link all of our struggles with all Africans all over the world and all oppressed peoples of the world. That is what Dedon's life is, that's what his commitment is, and that's what we take out of this commemoration. And I'd like to say on behalf of the Global Pan-African Movement that all of us give condolences to this community, our community, and all of us recommit to the struggle, and I welcome you to participate as Pan-Africanists, as African people, in this Congress, in this revolution, and as we say, aluta continua, mapambano bado yanaendelea. All power to the people.
Thank you, Brother Igwe. We'll go back for a few minutes. As everyone has talked about, Dedon was committed to justice. For about the last 4 years, since there was talk about the U.S. going into Syria and doing what they did in Libya, Brother Dedon went on the airways of KPFK and began to not only challenge KPFK for its reactionary position, but he began to bring forward information directly from Syria. He even traveled to Syria. Then the first time he called to tell me he was going, he was letting me know, hey, if I don't make it back, I said, no, you'll be coming back, but another discussion. And at some point I'll tell you about the first time you went to Libya with me. But I had been going to Libya. Anyway, that's another story. Today we're honored to have a representative from the Arab Americans for Syria, who was on Freedom Now for at least 4 years, every week, giving an update that you didn't hear on the corporate controlled media about what was really going on in Syria. And you know that there was such an outcry and uproar with the people that the U.S. decided not to go forward with plans to go into Syria directly. But the next speaker will talk about that and talk about the significance of being on Freedom Now. Johnny Ashe from the Arab Americans for Syria.
Thank you. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Good afternoon, Dedon. Another Saturday. We could have been on the air maybe 2 or 3 hours earlier. As Dedon always said, Johnny, we gotta let them know the truth. We were never offered time on the air. As you all know, the Syrian crisis started about 4.5 years ago, and the media, the mainstream media, controls everything that takes place in this country and abroad. Al Jazeera didn't do, actually was more of a reason of what happened in Syria. The Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the whole Gulf regions were not helping. I met Dedon 4.5 years in a small rally we had in front of the Federal Building. When we were outspoken, we could not even have a place to speak because the whole world was against us. I met Dedon and he asked me after I made a small speech for 5 minutes, he came up to me and said, brother, what do you think of the so-called Arab Springs? I smiled because for the first time someone knew that this is all was fabricated. This is another way of intervention, another reason to go into these countries that they have not been able to do it otherwise. He told me in less than 10 minutes how Libya had not yet fallen. Muammar Gaddafi was still missing. We're saying, every time the US or the West go into an economic crisis, somehow you see a war started somewhere else. We had at the time, of course, the Libyan Jamahiriya of Libya had $40 trillion in European banks. Egypt had $40 trillion, Mubarak, who was a friend of the US. But if he disappears, so will the $40 trillion. Of course, this money is never no one's asking for because people are left behind now fighting and killing each other. They don't know why, but all they know that they were supposed to be for freedom. Freedom we had in Syria. Syria was living its best days in 2010 prior to the so-called Arab Spring. We had more freedom than anywhere else in the world. We were the 4th safest country in the world. Dedon asked me to come on the show, and my first appearance was about 4.5 years ago with the Honorable Cynthia McKinney, representative. We did about half-hour show, and the rest was history. I've appeared almost weekly. And Dedon always asked me, Johnny, it's very important to tell the truth about Syria, or he, like he'd say, the other side of the story. So today, we're paying tribute to Dedon. And what a better way of doing a tribute than to have one last appearance on his show. Today I'm going to tell the last story probably on your show, Dedon, because you've always wanted me to tell the story, and I promise you I'll never stop telling the Syrian story. He was too passionate about it. He had so much courage, and the gentleman before me said warrior. He was a true warrior. And when we went to Syria together, he was fast to answer the call to go as part of this delegation that we felt it's a must that we go there, because at that time the US had built a great case to bomb Syria. We've avoided it from 2011 on to 2013, luckily with the vetoes that we got from Russia and China. Every time they put a reason or a pretext to intervention or to bombing, we were able to diffuse it by showing the truth, telling the facts. We were always one step ahead of them. Every massacre that happened in Syria, they blamed them on the Syrian army and they're killing their people. It was the opposite. We had investigators, even United Nations, like Carla Del Puente, independent investigator that went and met with everything and said it was the rebel. It was these terrorist people that are killing. The Syrian army is merely protecting the cities. And I can tell you, if we have failed, if the Syrian army had failed, if people like Dedon did not speak and saved Syria, we would be at few millions dead today, not at 200 or 300,000. What I'm trying to tell you is these groups or these rebels don't know anything about revolution. We see them how they enter little towns now and what they do. They see them how they slaughter people because they consider us to be infidel. It doesn't matter if I'm Christian, I could be Muslim, I'm still an infidel if I didn't believe in their ideology. The question that always made us wonder, me and Dedon, is why is the US putting all its power behind these groups? What's so democratic about Saudi Arabia and Qatar? Please, if anyone can answer this question. Henry Levy is coming to ask for democracy. Henry Levy is the same Zionist who appeared in Libya, then in Tunisia, then in Egypt, then in northern Syria. What does he want from us? Why does he want us to have so much freedom?
Location for oil.
Absolutely. We are a transit. We are a fuel transit spot. Syria is the most precious transit fuel area in the world. And as long as Syria did not need for the imperialist West, they could not have that transit fuel area. They wanted it to fall at any cost. It doesn't matter how good this president is, they're going to make him the worst guy in the world. Had this President Assad, who was loved by his people and still loved today by his people, and was considered to be one of the best presidents in the Middle East, #1 in the Middle East and one of the top 10 in the world, had he yielded to American needs to pass the Qatari gas to go to Eastern Europe through Syria, he would have been probably on Time Magazine Man of the Year. The same guy, everything he would have done, he would have been used as a hero for protecting Syria from these rebels. Brother Dedon put me on his show for 4.5 years, and every time he would introduce me, we welcome to the show Johnny Ashi, a member of Arab Americans for Syria. I remember it because it rings in my head every single Saturday. I remember of Arab Americans for Syria, a group that started here in Los Angeles to tell the truth about what's really happening in Syria. Johnny actually been appearing on the show for 4.5 years. Welcome, brother Johnny. Can you give us please an update of us? I just did give you a little update, guys. Syria will never forget Dedon when he answered the call and went to Syria in this August 2013 when the United States was imminent about bombing Syria. They thought they found the reason chemical weapons. We tried to scream out and like this is the use of the same terrorist groups. They'll kill their own, of course, if it would mean the U.S. intervention. How could they be considered revolutionists? And we know Dedon is a true revolutionist. A true revolutionist knows that the people who were considering themselves to be revolutionary were nothing to do with revolution. You don't come out of mosques screaming Allahu Akbar. This is not a revolution. The true revolutionists who came out from the universities and from work to stand in the millions in the streets of Damascus, and the millions in Aleppo and Damascus in favor of the Syrian government reform program. They were never shown on TV. We only saw the few hundreds that were God knows where at, screaming Allahu Akbar, trying to take us down. The revolutionists are people like Dedon, who believed in his heart from day one. The true revolution is to be calling for unification. If one word I would come to mind about Dedon is united. He always talked about unification. Latin America should be united against the power of the West and the power of the EU or the power of the imperial West. The Arab world should be united because we have too many people trying to divide and conquer. He understood about divide and conquer and said, Johnny, anybody who asks for the division of Syria like these people are claiming to be, they're not true revolutionists. A true revolutionist like the people of Syria who are standing out in the streets saying, no, united we stand. Syria will not be divided, will not kneel to the imperialist West, no matter how hard we have to fight. Dedon met when we were in Lebanon. I met him in Lebanon. He came in, member of the U.S. delegation with Cynthia McKinney and Ramsey Clark, the U.S. Attorney General, and a few other people, Sarah Flounder from International Action Center and John Parker. We met in Lebanon. They met with hundreds of Syrians who the U.S. considered to be refugees. They're running away from the Syrian army. He spoke with hundreds of them. They were all telling him we're running away from the terrorist groups. These people are too vicious. We cannot live under. They're running away from a war. They're not running away from the Syrian army. He came into Syria, we crossed the border. We went to shelter centers. He met with children. Hundreds of families that were displaced inside of Syria running away from areas that the terrorists entered. Every place that these terrorist groups entered, everybody fled. They ruled themselves, pretty much. I remember where kids were gravitating to Dedon. That image I'll never forget in that shelter. Dozens of kids taking pictures with him while I'm doing an interview. They were looking at him as maybe he's a hero, he's a savior. And at that time, really, we were like days away from the U.S. bombing. We went to Qasyun Mountain as part of Over Our Dead Body. We slept over the top of Qasyun Mountain with thousands of Syrians, because Qasyun Mountain is the first target of the U.S. bombing. We camped out thousands of young Syrians saying, no, over our dead bodies, you're going to bomb Syria. Thank God to people like Dedon and millions of you here who wrote to their congressmen and tell them, do not fight this war, this is the wrong war. We were voted down, we vetoed it down, and for that reason, people like Dedon, Syria is still alive. No matter what happens, Syria will not fall. And I promise you, Dedon, Syria will not fall. Syria lost a great king, great voice of the truth. We will not have another Dedon. I will never have another show like Dedon, like the Freedom Now, to be able to speak out and tell the story about Syria. On a personal level, I've lost a mentor, a true friend, and a brother. I think there is a line in the movie that everyone dies, but not everyone really lives. And Dedon did live, and he left a legacy behind him. And we promise you, Dedon, to continue to tell the truth.